Hello, my name's Mary, and I'm coming to you from the children's room of the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. And today we're going to read Shaped by Her Hands, Potter Maria Martinez. The book was written by Anna Harber, Freeman, and Barbara Gonzales. It was illustrated by Aphelandra. The book was published in 2021 by Alfred Whitman and Company. Maria Povica grew up surrounded by clay. It was in the earth under her deerskin untos, in the thick adobe walls of her Pueblo home, and in the large jars that held her water gathered from the nearby Rio Grande River. While her parents planted the fields and ground corn, young Maria tried to make playful clay bowls. She left them in the hot New Mexico sun to dry, but each one cracked and crumbled. The Tewa people in San Ildefonso had been making and using pots for centuries, but in the 1890s, many people were buying tinware from factories instead. Little Maria's cocoa, Nicolasa, still made strong clay pots. So Maria went to her home in the plaza to ask for help. Aunt Nicolasa was happy to show Maria the centuries-old tradition of sunaway. Together they gathered clay and thanked Mother Earth for sharing with them. Nicolasa showed Maria how to mix the clay with water and volcanic ash, and how to roll coils between her hands to build the pot's walls. As the two of them worked, Nicolasa told Maria about the importance of sharing clay knowledge. She wanted Maria to know how to make pots to store seeds and grains in, so their Tewa traditions would live on. As Maria watched Nicolasa work the clay, she thought of the many generations of potters who had come before. She wanted to make bowls as strong and beautiful as her ko'us. While her sisters played with their straw dolls, Maria practiced. After months of working with the clay, Maria's confident hands were making sturdy, round bowls. Nicolasa decided to let her fire her first pot. Firing the pots hardened them and made them strong, but not every pot survived firing. On a clear day, without a whisper of wind, Maria helped her ko'u build the pottery fire. Together, they placed wood and chips of dried cow manure around a stack of pots. She watched Nicolasa light the fire and say a prayer, and they sat down to wait. Maria and Nicolasa sat for hours in the fire's glow. Finally, the pots were done. Thinking of her bowls that crumbled in the sun, Maria held her breath as Nicolasa used a stick to pull her pot out of the ashes. It was perfect. Maria carried the pot home, cradling it like a baby. Her mother, her yaya, proudly placed it beside the fireplace and put cornmeal inside for spiritual blessings. Maria's heart glowed. As a teenager, Maria went to boarding school with her sisters But she missed the day and life in San Ildefonso, so as soon as she could, she returned to her home in the Pueblo. The 20th century began, and Maria met a young man named Julian Martinez. They fell in love. In their marriage ceremony, they drank water from the spouts of a wedding vase Ko'u Nicolasa had made for them. Maria and Julian Martinez inherited a house in the Pueblo. Their hands grew busier as they worked and cared for their children. But Maria never stopped making pots, and her reputation grew. In 1908, an archaeologist named Edgar Lee Hewitt came to see Maria. Mr. Hewitt had heard Maria's skills were working at a nearby dig site. He asked Maria if she could create a pot based on an ancient sherd of black pottery that had been uncovered on the dig. Maria had never made anything polished as fine or fired so black. She knew it would take hard work and patience, but she wanted to try. Maria and Julian dug and clay and began experimenting. She polished her pots using a river stone. Then they tested many ways of firing the pottery. One afternoon, they tried smothering the fire to keep the smoke in, and when they pulled out the pot, it was shiny and black as a raven. Mr. Hewitt had hoped only that Maria could recreate the ancient piece of pottery. But what he saw in these pots was something old and new and entirely unexpected. They were magnificent. Mr. Hewitt knew others would want to see them too. He put one of the pots in the Museum of New Mexico, where he worked, and brought the others to shops in Santa Fe. They sold right away. Maria had never sold her work before. She was amazed that people wanted to buy pots shaped by her hands. Julian began painting intricate patterns, feathers, and water serpents onto Maria's polished pots using a yucca blade brush. These black-on-black pots sold as fast as Maria and Julian could make them. Maria needed more hands to keep up with demand, so she taught her friends and relatives to help. Blackware furnished in San Ildefonso. Over the next 2 decades, Maria and Julian were invited to demonstrate their pottery making in New York, San Francisco, and Chicago. At first, it felt strange to have others watch her work, but Maria remembered Nicolas's words about sharing what she knew. When Julian died in 1943, Maria's heart and pots felt empty without her husband and partner. But she had spent her whole life sharing clay with her family. First, her children came to paint the designs. Later, her grandchildren came to help with the painting and polishing. They made pots as a family, remembering to thank Mother Earth and teaching new hands to form, polish, and design. The Great Spirit gave me hands that work, but not for myself, for all my Tewa people. Maria Pavica Martinez, her name. At birth, Maria was named Pavica, meaning pond lily, Povika. in her native language of Tewa. Maria was added at her christening later in life. As Maria's pots became more famous, a variation on the spelling of her name, Poveka, began to be used. This is possibly because some curators and scholars were unfamiliar with Tewa. Others may have mistaken the looped I on her signed pots for an E so that her name appeared to be Poveka. Many museums and sources still use this spelling, but her family and this book use the Tewa spelling, Povika, Povika. More about Maria. Maria's exact date of birth is unknown. During her life, Maria's unsurpassed skills with clay elevated Native American Indian pottery to a fine art, and she was awarded several honorary doctorates. Maria was invited to the White House on several occasions, and John D. Rockefeller Jr. even asked her to lay the cornerstone of Rockefeller Center in New York City. Throughout her 80-year career, Maria remained a strong ambassador for her people. She died in 1980, surrounded by family in San Ildefonso Pueblo. The Tewa people and San Ildefonso Pueblo. San Ildefonso Pueblo is surrounded by mesas and mountains north of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and is home to about 1,000 people. It is one of 19 Pueblo tribes in New Mexico and one of 6 Pueblo tribes in which people speak the Tewa language. Each Pueblo community is a sovereign nation with its own government. The Tewa people of San Ildefonso have maintained a strong sense of identity and way of life over the years, despite facing many challenges, including encroachment on their land from outsiders and forced religious conversion. Today, residents live in modern houses and work at many different jobs, but the community as a whole maintains a connection to their traditions, their ancestors, and the clay from Mother Earth. Notes from the authors. Barbara Gonzales. I am the eldest great-grandchild of Maria and Julian Martinez. They were traditional Tewa people. I had the honor and privilege of living with my great-grandmother from age 4 to the 4th grade. And Maria's capacity for sharing her clay knowledge and her experience as a traditional leader of women had a profound impact on me. She stressed learning as a key aspect of life. The signature on my pottery is Tanmue, or sunbeam, my Tewa name, given to me by my great-grandmother at birth. 6 generations of Maria and Julian's descendants continue the legacy of Black pottery today. The future is in their hands. And Anna Harber Freeman. I grew up hearing about the famous pottery of Maria Martinez from my grandmother, who was a member of the Osage Nation and collected Native American Indian art. After earning degrees in art and multicultural education, I became an art teacher and wanted to teach my students about Maria. But I had a hard time finding resources about her to use with children. While researching Maria, I found Barbara's name, and we connected over a desire to write a children's book about her great-grandmother. I'm thrilled to help bring the story of this amazing woman artist to life for a new generation. And we have been reading Shaped by Her Hands, Potter Maria Martinez. It was written by Anna Harber, Freeman, and Barbara Gonzales, and the book was illustrated by Aphelandra. The book was published by Alfred Whitman and Company in 2021. And my name's Mary, and I'm coming to you from the children's room of the Portland Public Library. And until next time, bye-bye.